Well, good morning on day 35. I'll wait a little moment if someone wants to join. It's this last minute. It seems to be working, although I'm not sure. Obviously, you can dial in. Okay, I'm gonna get started. Feels different to sit in a different place for the first time. Having an amazing view, by the way. Old church in front of me with a little square in front of it. Today I want to talk about how we deal with emotions. And as I shared yesterday about the depth of silence for actually your body system to let things to show up, it might be useful to contemplate or reflect on yourself, how you're used to dealing with emotions. Because we have been taught in a certain way by our parents or people around us how to react when we felt emotions as when we were a child. And that pattern might prevent you now from opening up to the deeper levels within you. And as all patterns are so unconscious, you're not even aware where you're blocking yourself from opening up. And just acknowledging what your pattern is already releasing some of it. And how I've been taught to deal with emotions is very different from person to person and from family system to family system. And many of us has been raised with sentences like, don't cry, be brave, or be strong. So for many people, it's very difficult to cry. And not that crying in itself is a necessity, to free emotions. But if tears come up and you feel yourself blocking it, then you do block the process. And by sitting in silence, or when something comes up, drop into silence, it might help to surrender to this emotion and let go of your old system, the old pattern that's within you. So see if you can just simply explore, reflect how you do it, how you deal with it on a daily basis. It doesn't have to be only heavy emotions, it can also be the light ones. I mean, even on the lighter versions, like laughing out loud and sharing your happy feelings, is sometimes suppressed by our parents. Like, you're not allowed to make noise, or you're not allowed to be so spontaneous. Or they say what other people might think if you're being so loud and so cheerful. And because emotions are often so unconscious, I mean, they come up, but we're not so conscious that we're suppressing them. The patterns that come with it are also very unconscious. And I wouldn't actively work on the patterns. I would just simply acknowledge them, recognize them first, and then acknowledge them. And see if you can surrender into something or let go of something if you hold yourself. Or open up if you want to laugh out loud. You were never allowed to do that. And perhaps it helps if you can see how you react to other persons when they show emotions. And see what your first reaction is. That often tells something about how you're patterned. Or what makes you uncomfortable when someone shows emotions. And when you practice this meditation more often, what we shared yesterday, then it will become more easy to sense the subtle differences in emotions during daily life. And you cannot just sense emotions with yourself, about yourself, but also with others. And if you sense the other person's emotion and you feel the person is blocked there, or you just sense the emotion, then you can just open up yourself to that emotion and just Be present for the other person. Not by using words or by comforting or by telling that person not to do something or not to think something, but just simply be there. So understanding that emotions are just kept and blocked energy that needs to be released. The understanding might be simple, but releasing it is so complicated because it's so unconscious for us. And we are so used to how we deal with it ourselves. But there are different perspectives to anything, also to dealing with emotions. So it might help to explore if you can deal with it in a different way. Anger is another emotion that we're not used to expressing so purely. Well, first of all, because we don't really know how to express anger purely. So we most of the time project it onto something or someone else. And then it becomes hurtful. But just anger in itself is just a pure release. Like when my son was young, he couldn't express his emotions very well. So we finally bought a boxing ball to practice boxing. But for him, it was a very valuable thing to express his anger, to release his frustration of things he couldn't express. So becoming aware of any emotion is the first step, and then reflect what your initial reaction is. And then see if that reaction is still valuable, or if you would like to change it, or if you'd like to release that pattern. And a couple of days ago, I shared about this day of just sensing what's happening around you when you walk on the streets or in nature, or just pure sense. Perhaps then you can try to sense differences in emotions when you walk on the street. When people are tensed or angry or frustrated or happy or cheerful, or try not to see the expression, but feel the energy underneath it. And don't take that energy personal, because then you keep everything within you. But just simply observe by saying that this emotion is felt. Not by I'm feeling this emotion, but this emotion is felt. Express it in the third person helps not to make it personal. As soon as we put an I to it, it's already personal. And then it's so more difficult to let go of it again. You can even see if an emotion is connected to a specific part in your body. Like when like anger comes up, you might literally just feel pain in your back or your knee. And that might be very well related to that specific body part, that it's literally kept there. Or the process works vice versa. You first feel the pain and then you suddenly become angry or frustrated or feel grief. And because the mind easily comes up with a story around this emotion, we don't connect it to the physical senses anymore. And if you react to emotions differently than you used to do, because you became aware of your patterns and you've tried different things, then, or you're just more opening up to things, then the people around you will react to that. They don't recognize that. And they're kind of like, they feel uncomfortable with that, so they want you to go back to the old state. But what you're actually doing is actually reflecting something back to them, especially if it's people very close to you. Then they were used to these old patterns as well. So a new pattern also makes them uncomfortable. And the phase in between to going to opening up to emotions, even, well, especially also the more happy ones, is very uncomfortable phase, or it has been for me. It still is, actually. And the other thing about emotions is that there's always a layer underneath another emotion. So it might start with grief, but then there might be anger underneath. And underneath the anger, there might be loneliness, intense loneliness, or so if you block the first layer, it's really hard to open up to the other layers. So this is a slow process. This is not just something that happens overnight, at least not in my experience. So try to just simply or slowly explore and reflect and be more sensitive to it, be more open to it, be more curious about it. And I think I mentioned it before, but you can even release emotions without showing that emotion. Simply the energy is released. Then you might yawn or your eyes might tear, not because of crying, but because there's literally something releasing in your eyes. Some liquid fluid is coming out. Or you might burp or so going through these 99 days and opening up to these deeper layers already releases so many things. So if you notice yourself burping more or yawning more or feeling differences in your eyes, then it's just your system releasing. Okay, that's it for today. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.